Hello, friends. Welcome to the Truth to You Daily podcast with Brother Scott. We are thrilled that you have taken time out of your day to explore with us God's timeless truth. Regardless of who we are, we all need the light of God's Word to illuminate our path for this day. And now, here's our youth pastor, Brother Scott.
Hello, welcome back. It's another episode of the Truth to You podcast. It is Tuesday, December the 5th. We are inching closer to Christmas break.
Yep.
And got Brother Andrew here back with us again. And we're in the book of Exodus. And we spent some time in the New Testament there for a while and taking our time going through the book of Acts. And now we're back in the Old Testament again. And I love the stories of the Old Testament.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many neat things here. And certainly when we study the life of Moses, there's just like, there's three different portions of his life that you could talk about, and it's almost a different Moses in each one, so to speak.
True.
But let's go ahead and notice our memory verse that we've been working on, and of course we'll have this today, and then you'll have an opportunity to say it in teen time tomorrow night. But 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 21 says, "For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him." One more time, 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 21, maybe those words come to your mind now and you can kind of say it along with me. But for he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. Well, if you don't do anything else today, thank the Lord for his sacrifice and the enablement to wear his righteousness before God. And that's a
Amen.
Blessed thing for sure. Okay, we are in Exodus chapter 6, and hopefully you've already read this. If you haven't, go ahead and hit the pause button, go check it out, and then you can come back and listen to the rest. Exodus chapter 6, we're looking at verse 2, and I'll go ahead and read the verse here, and then Brother Andrew, you can tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Sounds
okay?
good.
The Bible says here, "And God spake unto Moses, and said unto him, I am the Lord."
Yeah, so extremely simple verse today here. Just a direct statement there in verse 2. And I think if you look at the context and look around it, you see kind of the pause that the Lord here puts on Moses' life. As you're reading the story and seeing what the Lord wanted him to do with facing Pharaoh and eventually leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. Moses, he gives some excuses for why things can't work for him, and he starts to get distracted and worried about, is Pharaoh actually going to listen to me?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to say the things that I need to?
Yeah.
How is this? And it reminds me of maybe a pinball machine. His mind's going here and there, and what's going to happen? Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
And it looks a little bit crazy to him. He's facing this. And when I read verse 2, I imagine the Lord kind of snapping Moses back to focus. Say, look, do you understand who you're working with? He said unto Moses, said unto him, I am the Lord. Just backing him and say, look, you don't have to worry about things. You don't have to, be all over with your mind. And I'm the Lord. I'm on your side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here with you. You don't have to worry about it. And I think that all of us sometimes can use that reassurance.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
As we're going through our Christian lives and we're doing our daily things. And sometimes whether it's duties or maybe it's problems or whatever it may be, just seem to pile up. Yeah. And our mind's getting pulled in a million directions.
Yeah.
And we're saying, I don't know if I can get this done. And sometimes it's good to take a few minutes and just remember God's on our side. He's with us.
Yes, he is.
Discouragement is a very powerful thing. Very powerful. It can pull a lot of people in the wrong direction and away from doing what they know they're supposed to do.
Yes. And
if we attempt to fight this Christian fight and live this Christian life without the Lord's strength and help and relying on him, discouragement is inevitable. Yeah. It's going to be there. If we cut the Lord out of it and forget what he's done for us, then we're just fighting by ourselves, and it's like pounding a brick wall. Yeah. As Paul said, without the Lord, our Christian life, we're of all men most miserable. Yeah. It would be like forcing ourselves to do something we don't actually want to do. And the Lord's not obvious around. It's just fighting a losing battle. And of course, Christians get discouraged. And it reminds me of I think some kids, maybe some teens, who they get really annoyed with the Christian system and the culture and the things that we do. And I think sometimes they feel like I'm always doing something that they don't want me to do, and there's all these rules and all this kind of stuff that's forcing or going against what I want to do.
Right.
And I think it's because they're fighting on their own.
Yeah.
They're doing the Christian things. They're doing the quote-unquote right things to do.
Right.
But they don't have the relationship with God. They don't have the reliance on the Lord.
Yep.
And so, of course, it's going to be discouraging.
Yeah.
And I think if we could all
Great point.
get back to relationships with God and relying on Him for things, we could see that joy that we should have in the Christian life.
Yes.
We can see that excitement. We can, just be happy with the way that our life's going in being a Christian.
Right.
And then when darker times come, or when we're facing overwhelming odds like a Pharaoh, we can remember God's on our side, and we can base our happiness and joy in Him, in our relationship with God, who doesn't change.
Right.
It doesn't matter what our circumstances are.
Yep.
And then you can be like so many people of the past, even people that were martyred, stories that you hear where they just prayed to God, they had a peaceful life.
Yep.
They were happy even in the face of huge opposition.
Yeah.
So really, I think the lesson here that the Lord showed to Moses is, hey, look, in all this craziness, whether it's problems or things you need to get done or busyness, in all of that, remember to rely on the Lord.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really good. I love what you said about discouragement and how the devil can use that, especially in the life of a Christian, to just bring them down. And I heard a message when I was in college from an individual who told a story. It was just a fable, but it was just kind of to contextualize how the devil can use discouragement. And, obviously this is not anywhere in the Bible, but as the story went, the devil was putting some of his most effective tools up for sale and having a little bit of an auction. And some of those who attended came by and began to look at the table, and they saw the tool of bitterness, and the devil said, yes, this has been very effective in the life of trying to get some Christians off track. Another one was violence. He said this one can be used, but it's not as effective maybe. And then came to the tool of discouragement, had the highest price tag of all. And somebody asked, why is this, have the highest price tag? He said, well, this has beyond all else been the most effective tool in the life of Christians.
Wow.
I've found that whenever I've used it, it usually has a strong effect in their life. And,
wow.
I think that's completely fake. That's not in the Bible.
Right,
Right? Don't go looking for that story because it's not there. But at the same time, as you have stated, I have seen not only in my own life but in the lives of other Christians how quickly things can turn around in their spiritual life when discouragement hits, and it hits for a variety of reasons. But certainly it can be connected to just simply trying to do things in our own strength. When we've failed to see the significance of this statement, that we find in Exodus, where the Lord's just saying, hey, you do remember I'm the Lord. I can help you through this. Let me be your strength.
Yeah, so true. I remember, speaking of previous stories and sermons, I remember my youth pastor when I was younger would talk about kids that would come into his office and talk about how they're struggling with this and they fell back into this sin, or they got in trouble and they're being pulled into the office in those scenarios. And he said almost every single time that happened, he would ask him, are you still pursuing your relationship with God? Are you still reading your Bible? And he said 9 times out of 10 no. Right. They've lost that connection with the Lord. They've lost that reliance on God, and it led to where they're at.
Right. And this can happen with adults too.
Oh, absolutely.
Take heed lest we fall, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, good thought here. Knowing God. I am the Lord.
Right. Absolutely.
Good thought to carry with us today. Let's lean on Him and not our own understanding, as the book of Proverbs says.
Yeah.
Before we go, I want to mention our teenager of the day, and we are praying for Canaan. So take him to the Lord And don't forget about Teen Time tomorrow night. We'll always look forward to Teen Time. Hope to see you there. Maybe just check in with your classmates on Wednesday morning. Say, hey, you're coming to Teen Time, right? It'd be a great invite and reminder for them. All right, Brother Andrew, thanks again for another great podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'd just like to wish our listeners a good rest of their day. All right, take care.